Welcome back, everyone, to day 2. We're talking about breaking repeating patterns. We're going to start today with Blanca's presentation. She is, of course, the founder of Delgado Terapias Holísticas. She is holistic therapist and facilitator of ancestral and transgenerational healing. And it's through her practice in the Upper Valley, particularly she works around the Westlaco area. She helps people understand why they keep repeating the same patterns in relationships, in health, in their emotions, and then how they can honor their own resilience and the resilience of the generations that came before them while helping them to write a new story. She presents and teaches both in Spanish and in English, but this particular presentation is in English. We hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Blanca Delgado with Delgado Terapias Holísticas, and I guide people through ancestral, transgenerational, and holistic healing to help them understand why they keep repeating the same patterns in relationships, health, emotions, and in life in general, and how they can begin creating lasting change. Today's theme is breaking and repeating patterns. And I'd like for you to remember 3 things. First, that patterns are adaptations, not failures. 2, that body remembers what the mind has forgotten or wants to forget. And healing changes not only our lives, but the lives of our future generations. So, why do so many people find themselves in the same situation over and over, even when they want to desperately change things? Well, there's a big misconception that people that are repeating patterns is because of their lack of willpower, and this is not the case. We repeat patterns because those patterns once helped you or your family member survive. So as children, we learn how to stay safe, loved, accepted, or avoid conflict. And so these patterns become our survival strategies. And they become automatic, and we carry them through our adulthood without even realizing it. And so instead of asking yourself, what's wrong with me? I would definitely ask, what is this pattern repeating for? What is it protecting me from? What is the difference between a habit and a pattern? And how can you tell them apart? Well, a habit is a behavior. It's something that we do repeatedly, like checking our phones or forgetting to drink enough water. And patterns, they are survival strategies. They shape how we experience life. And it might look like repeatedly choosing unhealthy relationships, struggling to set boundaries, overworking until burnout, or always putting someone else's needs before ours. So, like I said, patterns are often survival strategies, and they can become part of who we believe we have to be. Why is it so difficult to change even when we truly want to? Because our unconscious mind is designed for survival, not to make us happy. Even when we consciously want to change something, our nervous system chooses something that is more familiar, even if it's healthy. That's why people sometimes return to situations that they know aren't good for them, because familiar feels safe, even when it is no longer serving you. When someone comes to me feeling stuck in a circle, what do I look for first? I begin asking them to tell me their story. I want to understand what they experienced growing up, what messages that they receive about love and safety and success or worthiness, and what roles they played in their family. Because our symptoms, they can often make sense more when we begin to understand the story behind them. So when we understand the origin of the pattern, we can begin to make those changes. What roles do our family history and generational patterns play in the cycles we find ourselves repeating? Well, did you know that we not only inherit our physical features, we also inherit our beliefs, our coping strategies, fears, and ways to relate to one another? So sometimes these patterns begin generations ago as responses to some kind of trauma, poverty, migration, discrimination, grief. Healthy doesn't mean blaming our parents or our ancestors. It means honoring their resilience while recognizing that we have the opportunity to create a different future. So one person's healing can become the beginning of a whole new family story. How does the body and the nervous system influence the patterns we repeat? Well, our body remembers experiences long after our conscience wants to move on or wants to forget. If someone grew up feeling unsafe, criticized, or emotionally neglected, their nervous system remains in alert. That's why healing isn't only about changing our thoughts, it's also about helping the body experience safety again. When our nervous system feels safe, we naturally begin responding differently to the situation that once triggered us. Remember, the nervous system wants to keep us alive. So that is exactly what it's doing. Why isn't awareness alone enough to create real change? And what does lasting transformation actually look like? Many people already know what they want to change. And they know that they want to stop people pleasing or stop overthinking or stop returning to unhealthy relationships. But awareness alone does not change an unconscious survival response. Real transformation happens when we align our thoughts, our emotions, our bodies, and our daily choices. Is breaking a pattern about changing our thoughts or changing our relationships with ourselves? Both. Changing our thoughts is important, but lasting healing also requires self-compassion. Many of us have spent years criticizing ourselves for our struggles. Healing begins when we replace judgment with self-compassion. That shift alone can be incredibly healing. What's one small step someone can take today if they recognize a repeating pattern? Pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I protecting right now? That simple question creates space between the trigger and the reaction. So slow down and give yourself an opportunity to choose differently. How do you know when someone has truly broken a pattern? When the situation happens again, but the person chooses to respond differently. The situation may look the same in the outside, but internally, everything has changed. That's when you know that a pattern has been broken. Can healing one person really impact an entire family? Absolutely. Healing isn't only personal, it's relational. So when one person begins to change, when their way of communicating, setting healthier boundaries, regulating their emotions, choosing compassion instead of reactivity, everyone around them begins to experience that same change. Children learn something different, partners experience something different, and the future generations inherit something different. What gives you hope when working with someone who has been stuck for a long time? Witnessing transformation. I have had to learn that some people come to me and they stop coming because they're not ready. Transformation is not easy for someone because it requires for you to look at yourself and push yourself outside your comfort zone. But when they do, it's beautiful. I love witnessing their transformation. As a closing reflection, I'd like to leave you with this thought. If you recognize yourself to be in any repeating patterns, please know that that does not define you. And I highly encourage you to understand your family history, because behind those patterns, you will gain the freedom to write a new chapter. Thank you.